no reception in this wild, waiting on God call. Devils calling loud, steady waiting on you to fall. You ever seen the demons eat an angel? They get on their knees with bloody teeth like God thank you. I'm a rose that grew from the concrete. See the scratches on my petals, scars on my thorn. It's win or lose, do or die, ain't no in between. So you can call it what you want, but it's all I ever known.
Fitness, weightlifting, bodybuilding. All these terms often get confused and mixed up amongst the general public. Although gyms are widely available in every city in America, pro bodybuilding is still a misunderstood art form and is even looked down upon. Being involved in this industry for the last few years, I often ask myself, do bodybuilding ideals reflect the ideals of the mainstream? How do you feel about bodybuilding?
I don't have many thoughts on bodybuilding.
Nothing.
It's not weightlifting. It's actually shaping your body.
It's awesome. I remember the comic books. Remember we used to have the back page of comic books, Charles Atlas.
I saw one on the train the other day, and they're just like bulky and big.
Big guys, hard to make clothes for. I don't know.
You hear about the steroids, you hear about what they eat and things like that.
I want to show you a couple images, actually. Let me know how you feel about these.
I used to be like that.
That's bodybuilding.
I think of it as body sculpting.
Okay.
They look good. They look in shape. They look like they're a little bit, too lean, a little too ripped.
That's how you pull it up.
That guy has 8 abs. That one has 6.
That hasn't gone to the freakish yet. I mean, his head is smaller than his body, but that's okay. I mean, if he's happy with it.
A lot of women see that right there. Ooh, wee. I said, what?
No. Not to me.
No.
Gross. It's not really gross, but it's not really, attractive either. To me, it's just gross, it's just...
How do you feel about this one right here?
Okay, yeah, that's the bodybuilding I know.
Wow.
That is a big dude. That's a big dude.
Okay, that's too big. That is too big, entirely too big.
Oh, boy.
I look at it as an addiction at some point.
It's an extreme.
It restricts him in movement and stuff, and even physically in other ways, and psychologically in a major way.
Competitive bodybuilding has been an American institution since its infancy in the 60s. Though there have been many foreign champions, almost all of them had relocated to the US to pursue their dreams. But as technology advances and the world becomes more connected, are we seeing the beginnings of decentralization?
I think America, because of that's where bodybuilding is more popular, it's where the magazines are, and that sort of thing, you get more notice there than anywhere else. But now, like I said, look at some of the people coming out of, Kuwait and all those sort of places, and that where you never would have heard of them before. But now, because they're getting bigger over there, you're starting to see these names you would have never heard of back in the 1990s or 2000s.
It seems like everyone has to come to the U.S. to be able to get that publicity and feel like they're at that level.
I mean, we're doing the Amateur Olympia in Algeria this year. We're doing a show in Tunisia. Obviously, we're in Kuwait, we're in Japan, we're in South Korea, China, Brazil. Brazil's going to be one of our biggest areas. Singapore, Vietnam. We just had a show in Vietnam. They had over 300 competitors in Vietnam.
You travel to these countries and you do these shows, and it's like you step off the bus to go to the arena and they swarm you. It's like they just want to touch you and see you and feel you because you're real. You're like the celebrity. And it's like, hell, in the United States, you just go to a show and you do it.
There's a lot more excitement there than you get in the U.S. I think people now are getting more excited to compete, and I think the talent pool is just amazing. You got different cultures competing, and the physiques. I mean, genetic makeup of a lot of these cultures. A lot of these guys are built for this business, and they're dedicated, so they're giving more time to developing their bodies and becoming their best in the hopes to be able to either leave there or represent their country better through the business.
Another major factor that led to growth of pro bodybuilding was the recent introduction of several new divisions by the federations. These new divisions open the door to a wider audience and tailor themselves to specific body types.
Well, men's physique is a body you would see almost in GQ or in a fitness magazine. A physique that's not overly developed, but in very good condition with excellent shape. It would be just enough of development of a body you wouldn't even need weights almost for. Condition and shape is what we look for. Classic physique is you take a physique body and a bodybuilder's body and you meet it halfway. It's a developed body that you need to put in the gym, heavy squats, heavy lifting. It's a physique that you would see in a bodybuilding magazine showing you exercises, but not the ultimate. Men's opening is the ultimate. That is the male body taken to the ultimate development. The biggest muscles, the biggest conditioning, the biggest shape, the guys that have taken it to the limit.
So what division is the best? Which physique is supreme? Is there such thing as a perfect physique? Can it ever be achieved? Or is it simply predetermined for us based on genetic limitation? To answer at least some of these questions, we decided to go all around the US and the world and meet some competitors who live, sleep, and breathe bodybuilding. Despite being only 25 years old, many spectators and analysts believe that Canadian athlete Regan Grimes has the potential to be leading men's open competitor. Regan did a few pro shows, but the biggest challenge is yet to come. In a month, he's gonna step on a stage in New York. There, he'll be challenged by some of the top bodybuilders in this industry. If he ends up placing badly, this will show that the hype did not live up to the expectations.
In order to do well in bodybuilding, you got to be a little bit crazy. Just with the diet, the nutrition, it's a whole other level of like suffering. Bodybuilding, I didn't even know it was like a big thing. I didn't even know about it.
Before becoming a full-time bodybuilder, Regan lived the dream of motocross. But after sustaining injuries, his life now is all about training and eating.
Regan's not the most organized person. He's good with the training. He can follow the diet. He just needs someone to help him with the meals. Don't tell me that. We were both working at a supplement store, which was at Western University, and I was attending Western University. Then we were also both working at a bar, so he was doing security and I was doing bottle service. I always thought he was good looking and I liked him and he was a funny guy, nice, but I never really knew that he had a thing for me or anything because we were just really friendly. And he's just chill, so he was never really that obvious about it, and then eventually we just kind of started hanging out and one thing led to the next, and then here we are 5 years later.
How was your day, Otis? When we met, I hadn't even done my first competition to becoming pro, so we kind of went through that whole journey together, and she's been there for everything and pushed me through times I thought I would give up.
Your waist looks smaller in these photos.
It's coming in tighter.
But I think, go back to, I think you could have hit that one better.
Yeah. And I think this one too, the front I could have hit better too. Sometimes I lean back and I should be leaning forward in my upper body a little bit. Every morning for my coach, Chris Aceto, we take photos and I send them off to him. I also, right when I wake up, I'll take my weight too. So I'll record my weight and then we'll come get the photos and I'll send them both off to him. And then he'll give me my plan for, sometimes he'll switch today or it'll be for tomorrow. 2. One more. Good. Is he okay? Logan just puked everywhere. Yeah. It's puking. Okay, here we go. You're not supposed to make eye contact during this. Good.
Over the past few years, bodybuilding began taking shape in a variety of different countries. A movement that has been pioneered by individuals across the globe who have made it their mission to introduce and expand bodybuilding to a whole new audience. I sat down with some key members of the industry to get their take on this ever-changing landscape and learn more about bodybuilding.
You know, America, U.S. is known as, capital of bodybuilding. I mean, like Venice Beach, it's associated with bodybuilding. Now, do you think people from different countries all over the world can potentially take that mecca away from U.S. if they invest in bodybuilding and if they grow it?
I don't know, because I feel like Arnold did this. I feel like Arnold made it like an American thing because it is almost like it's like tied into like movies and Hollywood and like at least where he went with it. And I think people see that in the bodybuilding, like they almost have this dream of like maybe they could be a part of that or be somewhere along those lines. And I think it kind of has to do with like LA and Hollywood.
When I was first competing, America was way ahead with the gyms and the restaurants and the food and everything. So now you can get a good gym anywhere in the world, and the internet's made the world much smaller.
It's generally in Europe and the Middle East, they look at it as they would look at basketball players. They're stars. Kai Green is a huge star in the Middle East. When I went to Iran, I was treated like a rock star. It's the same all around the Middle East.
That's amazing. India, China, Brazil, all these emerging markets now where fitness is huge.
Everywhere. We're just trying to expand wherever we can.
After investigating these newly emerging markets, we traveled to India to meet Shiru Angrish, a now retired bodybuilder who has made it his mission to transform India into a main hub for fitness.
Population, right? I mean, China has the biggest population, obviously, in the world.
Yeah. India is number 2.
Number 2, but the most important thing is it's a young population, right?
Yeah, I mean, 63% of population in India is less than 35 years of age. And if you compare the Indian statistics a few years ago, the literacy rate was very down.
Very low.
But the younger population is literate. So when people are literate, they have more knowledge, more sense. And the decision making is right. That's the key factor.
Yeah. What about the income of, like a general income? Is it growing in India, you think?
Yeah. If you see numbers, obviously the Indian economy is the only economy in the world with a growth rate of 6.9 to 7.1, And I do feel it's the beginning of a new era.
His ambition is to make bodybuilding bigger than cricket, India's #1 watch sport. While he tries to engage Bollywood stars to take interest in fitness, India's only men's open pro competitor, Varinder Guman, has made it his mission to do the same, but on an individual level. He will soon be competing in the San Marino Pro, a major European competition with top-level athletes.
Varinder Guman, right now the only professional bodybuilder from India. People call him He-Man of India. So he's a pretty known face and working on different ventures.
Now, you're the only Indian IFBB pro right now? Well, why do you think you're the only one? Why do you think there's not a lot more?
I'm unique, man. I hope so. That more upcoming years, India will be going to produce many more pro bodybuilders.
A lot of talent coming from India when we talk about mainstream bodybuilding. You will see Indian winning Mr. Olympia when we talk about classic physique and men's physique.
We're not as big as the open bodybuilders, but we have a nice, shape.
nice V-taper, shoulder-to-waist ratio. Me and guys like Andre Ferguson, we're one of the bigger guys in men's physique.
If you look at men's physique from 2011, 2012, around that time period, those weren't really bodybuilders. It was more like a beach look with a little bit of muscle, and the conditioning wasn't even there. It was like more of a softer look. Like they didn't want you coming in as hard as we come in now. It became baby bodybuilding. We're baby bodybuilders now. There's no way you're gonna look at a men's physique guy
Baby
and say,
bodybuilders.
There's no way that's not bodybuilding. The top guys are bodybuilders.
I think it's changing, man. I think it's changing again, and there might be a new champion this year. When I was 16, I remember telling my best friend, Kiki, in the gym while I was, it was after practice, I was like, I want to be a professional bodybuilder one day. I didn't have the biggest muscles, but I always had a nice shape and abs. And I've always, even growing up, I would always be the one in pictures to like lift my shirt up and show my abs. So I've always been like that kind of like, the kind of guy that's just been out there. And I was kind of confused. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or where my life was gonna go. So that's why I ended up going to college and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Got my bachelor's in science at SIU. And throughout those 4 years, I really just partied. I didn't lift, I didn't do anything. I was partying. I joined a black organization, modeling organization called Essence. So I was doing some modeling. It was a blessing in disguise because what I've learned how to use the stage and modeling, and I apply it now to bodybuilding. Oh, these pants too tight. Oh. Ooh, see, that's the problem. When you go shopping with a bodybuilder, pants too tight.
After starting his men's physique journey in 2012, Brandon quickly rose to the top and won the Arnold Classic in 2016, a major accomplishment. Unable to land a repeat victory the following year, he now must work his hardest to prove he can do it again.
So I was backstage getting ready to be handed my trophy by Arnold. He was backstage and shook my hand and said, man, you look awesome. You look super shredded. That's kindergarten cop. Like, that's my idol. I started bodybuilding, you know, the motivation was from Arnold, you know. He paved this way for us. He made an opportunity. I wouldn't be sitting right here if it wasn't for Arnold. So he's someone I really look up to in the industry. And to actually win his own show was like super dream come true.
That was 2016. This is 2018, my man. I'm the guy that came second at the Arnold last year. I won the New York Pro that year. Got second at the Olympia. No damn underdog.
There is much more on the line beyond his pride. Brandon relies on sponsors for income, and without the awards and trophies, sponsors tend to disappear. Sao Paulo is one of the most densely populated cities in South America. It seems that here, fitness is second nature. And yet, for men's open bodybuilder Rafael Brandao, putting on muscle and mass wasn't always easy.
Eu comecei a treinar aos 14 anos porque eu era muito magro e eu sempre andei com pessoas mais velhas do que eu. Então eles sempre eram mais robustos. Eu era mais zoado, né? Tipo, sempre zoado de magrelo. Foi onde eu entrei na academia para conseguir conquistar um físico, né? Para não ser zoado. Antes de eu ser atleta, eu era um jovem normal, que saía, né, de fim de semana, bebia bastante. Desde que eu me tornei atleta, eu não tive mais essa vida de sair, de ir pra festa.
His sight is set on San Marino Pro Show in Italy. It's an important stepping stone for many bodybuilders, especially those who one day want to fight for top awards and prize money in a six-figure range.
E assim, é um momento que vai ser único na minha vida, porque eu só vou ter uma estreia no profissional, e vai ser essa. E eu quero chegar lá no meu melhor e poder aproveitar esse dia, né? Não tá tenso, tá tranquilo e aproveitando esse momento, que eu acho que vai ser muito bom pra mim. Eu acho que o trabalho do bodybuilding não é você fazer 3 meses de pré-contest, é você viver realmente bodybuilding. Pelo menos eu acredito nisso, que os bodybuilders de sucesso vivem realmente aquela vida o ano todo. E é isso que eu faço.
Ariel Kadar, and I'm originally from New York, and I'm now living in Miami, Florida. I'm an IFBB fitness pro. I was one of the youngest to ever become an IFBB pro at 17. Fitness, was something I loved, and I wanted to do it, but, I'm 17, and I was originally recruited for gymnastics to Rutgers University, but because of my ankle injuries, I wasn't able to do college gymnastics. Since I got my pro card, it was actually 6 years until the day I stepped on stage, and that's where my pro career started. There's no meaning behind the abstract paintings. They're just, I didn't want like flowers. So actually, this is all mostly from the Arnold last year. And this is Miss Olympia Oksana Grishina. She reminds me a little bit of how I really get into the routine, where you become the routine. You don't just perform a routine, you're now the routine. Oksana does that better than I do.
What's fitness about? It's just about creativity right now. It's about highest energy, strength, and they all come up with different ideas, interesting ideas. I can see they thinking about it. They're really trying to make fitness more entertainment.
The fitness division is judged based off of 2 rounds. We have a physique round, which is a 2-piece bikini. It's judged similarly to how figure is judged in terms of proportion, muscularity, femininity, leanness. The physique round, though, is only 30% of our score.
But at the same time, we represent stamina, highest stamina in performers. So this is the second round, routine round.
The routine round is 70% of our score. And the routine round is based off of creativity, performance, agility, strength, skills, and how you carry yourself, how you're able to entertain the crowd.
So all these things you got to represent for 2 minutes on stage for the judges.
What many people don't understand is we compete just like every athlete on stage. We've got to sculpt our physique, but in addition to that, we need to find time to put together a routine, work on flexibility, work on strength skills, work on dance. So you have this entire element that's added to prepping for a show that several other divisions don't have. To be honest, some people just aren't cut out for it.
Good morning.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I loved dance growing up. I was a cheerleader, and so I had that as a background and thought, well, gosh, this is an awesome way to kind of parlay what I used to do when I was younger, but now do it as an adult. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Whitney Jones is a veteran fitness competitor who has been rising up in the ranks for years. She's one of many women, along with Ariel, who will fight for the Arnold Classic title in the absence of the former champ, Oksana. After a serious neck injury that almost led to retirement, Whitney managed to make a recovery in the year since. Unfortunately, with only a month away before the competition, she ruptured her ACL. Despite of that, she decides to compete. With the surgery scheduled after the Arnold, physical therapy is the only option to manage the pain and keep the injury from worsening. She has just a few weeks to prepare.
Neck's still doing well. It hasn't, it hasn't even been a year yet for the neck fusion. And so.
I saw a picture. I couldn't believe it.
Crazy. Right. Isn't that? I've just got to come up with a one-legged routine. I got one good leg. I got to keep this leg healthy.
Really?
I got to make sure I don't screw up my neck worse, because now I've got to change a lot of the skills, which I got to utilize my upper body as much as I can.
So how's your routine going so far?
I'm having to start all over. Normally you have your routine done 4 months out. And so I technically only have 3 weeks because travel time. So I have 3 weeks to put together. So it's a little crazy, but I feel like I thrive under pressure, and it's going to force me to think out of the box.
Wow, I like your attitude.
Located in the heart of Central Asia, Uzbekistan is not commonly known to the Western world. Rich in history, Islamic tradition, and spirit, the country has only been independent since 1991, after the fall of the Soviet Union. Bodybuilding is not very common here, and the gyms are just becoming popular in the last 10 years. But those who love it dedicate their lives to it. One such person is Mikhail Valenkin, or simply Misha. Born in Russia, he was brought here by his parents and abandoned at a young age. Due to this, survival became his way of life.
Миша это очень интересный человек, характер его, наверное, в первую очередь, его вот это, наверное, то, что мне и понравилось в нем. Когда мне сообщили, что он еще и с детдома, что он вот так вот старается, идет.
И бывает у многих, сейчас, например, есть такие подростки, которые, как у Миши, нету родителей, и они сам по себе в детдоме, и у них уже нету мотивации к жизни. Они уже то, что получится. А у Миши это по-другому. Он всегда любил работать. У него такой закон был для себя.
In between training and spending time with family, Misha visits a local orphanage, a place he used to call home.
Было круто. Я один заходил, без никого. И на мешках работали, пинали, спарринги были у нас. И так я мог сделать по 20 раз, по несколько подходов. И от этого у меня очень сильно рвались руки. Когда были порваны руки, я приходил и просто подтягивался на пальцах. Пойдем спина с прессом. Здесь мы тоже делали сальто обычно. Приходили сюда, все наверх поднимались и делали сальто.
After winning all local and regional competitions, Misha was selected to travel to US and compete at the Arnold Classic Amateur Show. It's an honor just to be selected, as now he finally has a chance to win an IFBB Pro card. But in order to do that, he will have to get the first place in his weight class and win the overall amongst all competitors. He remains calm and collected, knowing that in US he will compete against the top amateurs in the world. The African continent often gets overlooked in the world of bodybuilding in comparison to Europe and the Americas, perhaps due to the perception of the lack of resources. In Ghana, the average monthly income is equivalent to $170 American. Most gyms are a luxury, only available to a few. But that doesn't stop the aspiring bodybuilder, Collins Nyarko, to pursue his dream. He wakes up early every morning and trains his clients, other aspiring fitness crusaders.
This is a sport that comes to you with almost nothing. You don't even have the gym to begin with. And when I'm talking about you don't have the gym, I'm talking you have to make your own gym out of whatever you could find. Pieces of stones, wood, and any metallic object that you could find around. And you bring these things together just to form your gym.
In Ghana, I would say, yeah, it's very difficult. Difficult in the aspect of where to train, especially in the food aspect.
The hardest part about being a bodybuilder to me is nutrition.
But I've heard most bodybuilders eat like 6 to 12 times daily, but here looking at how things are, you cannot afford to eat that. You will go bankrupt, yeah. You can't. I use it as a motivation. So I want to use it to motivate others to know that you don't have to look at where you are, you don't have to look at the situation you are in. You can make big things out from something small.
We have such potential, we have such good genetics here in Ghana, so I believe that we can do great with bodybuilding.
We don't even have a single IFBB certified professional bodybuilder in this country. That tells me that we have a long way to go. We really, really have a lot to prove.
I want our athletes to have an opportunity to compete against the best of the best in the world here on home soil and hopefully winning world laurels.
As the infrastructure of the Bodybuilding Federation is not very productive here, Collins decides to take matters into his own hands and put together a local bodybuilding competition for him and his fellow bodybuilders.
We are the difference. We are what they haven't seen before, and we are what they need to see.
I think bodybuilding overseas is bigger. I think everyone's looking for the opportunity to become recognized.
I mean, Iran breeds some amazing bodybuilders, but it's nothing new. You know, I think because of the advent of social media, people are seeing it more. But bodybuilding's been big in Iran for decades, for centuries.
Many consider Iran as the Mecca of bodybuilding in the Middle East. Even though the country has been largely isolated by the West after the Islamic Revolution of 1978, the bodybuilding talent here is steadily spreading throughout the world.
What do they have? Do they have clubs? No. Can they drink? No. So where's the one place they can all go to? The gym.
Here it's more than a sport, it's honor. However, participating in the most prestigious shows in the US is nearly impossible due to the recently imposed travel ban. This hurts many of the local competitors. Hadi Chupan, a fierce 212 bodybuilder from the south of Iran, is one such competitor. The men's 212 division limits all competitors to weigh no more than 212 pounds. This division allows for the same level of large muscles and bulk as the men's open, but drastically limits the weight.
There's a lot of amazing bodybuilders that I think would do really, really good competing here in the States, but they can't get here because of the visas.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I feel really, really bad for those guys because it's not in their hands. They have nothing to do with this. This is just pure politics and all that nonsense.
من یک ورزشکار حرفه‌ای IFBB پرو هستم و مثل این که یک فرزند جدید به خانواده حرفه‌ای هستم. به عنوان یک فرزند از اون مسئولین به عنوان یک بزرگتر یا یک پدر خانواده انتظار دارم که منو همراهی کنن، همکاری کنن که بتونم این ویزا رو آزاد کنم و به این مطابقات رعایت کنم.
We've been trying to get Hadi into the Olympia, but I mean, the government, I mean, that's really out of our hands. I mean, we've written letters, we've tried, but that's just really above our calling.
I'm the president of the NPC and IFBB, but I'm not Donald Trump, so I can't change that, you know. But these guys are going to a lot of our international pro qualifiers, and they're winning a lot of them.
Unable to get an entry visa to the US, Hadi makes a decision to compete in San Marino Pro on the coast of Italy. However, he will have to move up to men's open division, as many European competitions don't offer 212.
It's a shame. I mean, they can compete in the pro shows in Europe or something, but I don't know if we'll ever see them here. Hopefully, the world will change someday that we can.
Okay, good move, okay. All right, everybody grab somebody's hand. Everybody grab somebody's hand, make a chain.
Everybody grab on. Great things will happen in this circle. This circle here today. Touch your neighbor and say, great things will happen here in this circle today. Great things will happen today in this circle. Great things will happen in this circle.
Great things is going to happen in this circle.
Ready? Warm. Are you feeling warm? Feel like a panther. Feel like a panther. Feel like a panther. All right, let's get it started. Let's do a set of 10. Let's go. And 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, so I want to ask you about genetics. Do you think people in certain countries have genetic limitations that will prevent them succeeding in bodybuilding? Do you believe that that can be the sad truth of it all?
Yeah, you know, I can recall being in India, and it was probably, I don't know, 700-800 people, you know, in this same room. On this platform, somebody posed the same question. Do you think genetics will hold us back? Do you think that our genetics here, you know, collectively will hold us back from our ability to achieve, you know, larger rewards in the bodybuilding competition? I remember thinking, damn. But I realized at the time that the person wasn't trying to be funny. And as I looked around the room, there were a lot of people that were there with open eyes, you know, really, you know, expecting you to answer that.
I do believe genetics, you know, plays a part. You know, like Asian bodybuilders, they're not all meant to be so big. So when you find a big Asian bodybuilder, it's very rare. You do see them. I mean, a lot of them have small bones, so they have, you know, nice structures for like classic physique.
If you have really thick joints, you're gonna need so much more size to make those joints look smaller, you know. So if you have very small joints and round muscle bellies, you might not need that much weight on the scale to look a certain way. So it's just, you know, everybody's gonna have to work with their genetics, and it's gonna give very much like very different physiques.
I think every nationality has some people great genetics, some people not so great. But I think Persians, Middle Easterns as a whole, they come from a wrestling and strength training background. They're really good mesomorphs. Really capable of putting on size, good strength. Some of the strongest Olympic athletes are from Iran, broken many, many records. So yeah, I think genetically, Persians are primed for strength training and bodybuilding, yes.
E assim, a gente tem um grande potencial genético aqui, né? Porque são várias misturas de raça. Então, às vezes você vê algumas aberrações por aí que nem é atleta, mas só de fazer um treino, de fazer uma dieta, já tem um físico bonito.
When it comes to Africa, we have the genetics. You can even see someone who hasn't lifted weight before, but you see that that person is shredded with the physique. You see the frame, everything is there. And even when you look outside the Western world, most of the good bodybuilders are black.
Then again, you want to look at these genetics at different parts of a bodybuilder, because there are certain parts that Africans are not genetically gifted at. And when it comes to this part, you want to look at the legs, you want to look at your calves. Black people or Africans naturally do not have big calves.
I remember being a teenager and people telling me in my gym, you know, don't worry about calves and things like that because, you know, you're black and black men don't have calves. Yeah, they just can't develop calves. So don't even worry about that.
I told you this.
Yeah. The only limitations there would have been the ones in my own mind.
If you want to be in the sport, work hard and beat them. Beat their natural genetics. Put in the hard work so that it pays off and you can put hard work over genetics. They still have to work hard, but maybe they're not.
I battled Ronnie Coleman, who I thought was genetically superior to me, for sure. But Branch Warren is a prime example of that also. We still beat people that were better genetically.
If you have them, you just got a head start. You got a much better chance at reaching your goals if you start out with good genetics. It's just that simple.
Genetics. I was blessed with genetics, but, you know, I had to apply the work. Everything I have now is I had to work for it.
And more relatable, too.
I mean, I wasn't too big for men's physique, honestly, but I just You know, I liked the idea of being able to showcase my whole physique, being able to pose.
There's no bodybuilding posing. It's supposed to be more of just a natural, hey, this is what I look like on the beach.
When you're looking at physique, it's just stances, front, side, back. You're just looking at a body.
What our job is to do, it's not posing, it's looking good standing there. You have to build your aesthetics to a point where you don't have to pose to look good.
A lot of people don't think that you have to practice posing as a men's physique, but you do. Presentation, believe it or not, still comes into big play. We're looking for the muscularity, the taper, symmetry.
It also could be why the open bodybuilders hate men's physique so much, because men's physique guys are so much more appealable to girls, whereas girls don't like bodybuilders, so maybe there's a little bit of jealousy in there, you know?
The boys who are guys are, you know, the pretty boys, modeling contracts, seeking motherfuckers. They probably won't get that much respect. Well, if I offended any of you motherfuckers, fuck y'all.
Eu consigo fazer uma capa de revista, eu consigo fazer uma campanha de cueca, eu consigo, de repente, ficar numa imagem onde você vai me achar muito, muito mais forte, eu consigo ficar seco e... Those guys are just big and freaky, and some people are just intimidated by that kind of muscle and size, but, I mean, if you're in the sport, you understand, like, that's the top of the food chain.
Quando eu pensei em ser atleta, eu queria ser men's physique. Mas quando eu cheguei no meu primeiro treinador, quis ver o meu físico por completo. E aí foi quando ele falou, você não pode deixar escondida essa sua perna. Você tem que mostrar esse é o ponto forte do seu físico. Então vai para bodybuilding.
Sou o Dr. André Santos, fisioterapeuta especialista em quiropraxia. E agora para San Marino, para a estreia dele no Pro, a gente vem trabalhando algumas coisas específicas, como, por exemplo, o dorsal. O volume do dorsal a gente tem trabalhado... Bora.
É essencial na minha preparação, né? Porque a gente leva o nosso corpo ao extremo todos os dias. É o que eu costumo dizer, né? O pessoal que fala que o bodybuilding é um atleta solitário. Não, não é. Eu acho completamente ao contrário. Sozinho a gente não consegue fazer nada, né? Sozinho a gente não chega em lugar nenhum.